No one knew where Obinna, the new shawarma guy, came from, but people swore his shawarma tasted too good to be ordinary. He had come from the city to a small town to start his own business after years of struggling in Lagos. His stand sat at the corner of the busy junction, beside the motor park, where travelers and villagers passed every evening. At first, many ignored him. Shawarma was not a common food in the town. Most people were used to suya, roasted plantain, or puff-puff. But one evening, a curious young man decided to try his shawarma. The next day, that same young man brought 3 of his friends. Within a week, everyone was talking about the new man's food. People said the smell alone could make your stomach sing. The meat was always soft, the sauce sweet and spicy, and the bread never too dry. Soon, customers started coming from neighboring villages. Some came twice a day. The queue at his stand stretched so long that other food vendors began to complain that business had slowed for them. But Obinna never argued with anyone. He worked quietly, kept to himself, and always had a small smile on his face. As the days passed, people noticed that his shawarma stand never closed early. Even at midnight, smoke still rose from his grill. When asked why he worked so late, he would simply laugh and say, "Business doesn't sleep." His dedication impressed the townspeople. Within months, he saved enough to buy a small car. Not long after, he bought another. Then, a few months later, he began building a large mansion on the outskirts of the town. The building rose fast, brick by brick, as if money was flowing like water. Many people congratulated him and said, "Obinna, you are an example of hard work. You show that city hustle pays." He always replied with a humble smile, "Na God o." But behind those smiles was something no one could see. Then the strange things began. 3 months after Obinna's arrival, a young tailor named Samuel went missing. He had gone to deliver clothes to a customer at night but never returned. The next month, a girl named Ada, who sold roasted corn near the bus park, also disappeared. Rumors started spreading. Some said it was kidnappers. Others said it was the work of ritualists who came from the city. The police came and went, but no one was ever found. Still, life continued, and people kept eating Obinna's shawarma. The taste was irresistible. Even those who swore they would never eat outside again found themselves buying from him. He had something that pulled people close, something that made them forget their fears as soon as the smell hit their nose. At night, neighbors sometimes heard strange sounds from his house, like a pot bubbling and a faint chant in the background. But when they asked him the next day, he would laugh softly and say, "My blender day spoil again. I day try fix 'em." Soon, he became the richest young man in town. He dressed well, drove fine cars, and his mansion became the talk of the whole community. Everyone wanted to be close to him. Mothers wished he would marry their daughters. Elders said he should contest for local council chairman. He was the golden man of the moment. Then came Favour. She was a beautiful young woman who had just finished her apprenticeship as a fashion designer. Her smile could light up a room. The first day she met Obinna, it was at his shawarma stand. She had come to buy food for her younger brother. Obinna noticed her immediately. There was something pure and soft about her. From that day, he began to show her special attention, offering her free shawarma, dropping by her shop to greet her, and even helping her get customers. In no time, they started dating. Favour fell deeply in love with him. She admired his confidence, his generosity, and the way he always smelled of grilled chicken and spice. But Obinna was careful. He never allowed her to visit his house unless he invited her. He always said, "My place day far, let's meet outside." Sometimes he told her his mansion was still under construction, even when people knew he already lived inside. As their love grew, Favour began to wonder why he never let her into his kitchen. Anytime she asked about his secret sauce, he would smile and say, "That one NA family recipe oh." He kept a small glass bottle with thick red liquid inside. He guarded it jealously. He never allowed anyone to touch it, not even his workers. Favour didn't think much of it at first. She believed every cook had their secret ingredient. But things started to change. Every 3 months, another young person went missing. 1, then 2, then 3. The pattern became too clear to ignore. People whispered in the market. They said there must be a curse in the town. Some even mentioned Obinna's name quietly, but no one dared to say it aloud. After all, he was too powerful, too generous. He paid church offerings, helped widows, and even sponsored the youth football team. Still, something about him didn't sit right with Favour. There were days his eyes looked strange, dark, almost lifeless. There were nights he would stare into space for long minutes as if listening to a voice no one else could hear. When she asked what was wrong, he would brush it off and change the topic. One evening, after they had dinner together, she asked him directly, "Obinna, where do you get all this meat you use for shawarma? You never go to the market, yet your meat never finishes." He laughed, his eyes cold but his voice soft. "Don't worry about that, my love. I have special suppliers. Very special people." His answer sent a chill through her body, but she smiled to hide her fear. She told herself she was overthinking. Weeks later, he became busier than ever. His mansion was now complete, large, white, with shining glass windows. He invited half the town to his housewarming party. Favour was there too, proud and smiling, though deep down she still felt uneasy. After the party, things returned to normal, or so it seemed. One afternoon, she stopped by his house unannounced. He had told her he was going to the city for business, but she later saw his car parked at home. Confused, she decided to go in. The gate was open, and the house was silent. She walked through the living room, calling his name softly. No answer. Then she heard a faint sound from the kitchen, something bubbling, like a pot on fire. She followed the sound, her heart beat loud in her ears. When she pushed the kitchen door gently, what she saw made her freeze. Obinna stood over a big table. In front of him was the small glass bottle, half filled with thick red liquid. On the counter lay what looked like raw meat, chopped into small pieces. But it didn't look like any meat she'd seen before. The shape of the flesh, the veins, the color, it was too human. He dipped a spoon into the red liquid and poured it into the sauce bowl, humming a strange tune as he stirred. Favour gasped, her body trembling. The sound made Obinna spin around. Their eyes met. For a second, the whole world went still. Then she screamed. Her scream pierced through the quiet afternoon, echoing down the street. Neighbors came running. Favour ran outside, shouting his name. Shouting what she saw. He's using blood. He's using human flesh. Obinna is killing people. Obinna stood frozen for a moment, then dropped the bowl. The red liquid splashed across the white tiles like spilled blood. He knew it was over. The villagers burst through the gate, crowding the compound, shouting, asking questions. Favour was shaking uncontrollably, crying, still pointing toward the kitchen. Some men rushed in and saw the horror for themselves. There, in the pot, pieces of meat floated in a dark sauce that smelled both sweet and rotten. That evening, the entire town gathered outside his mansion. The truth was out, and for the first time, people connected the dots, the missing young ones, the smell from his kitchen, the late-night work, the sudden wealth. Everything made sense now. Obinna's secret had finally come to light, and there was no escape. But the night was not yet over, and the worst was still to come. When the truth finally broke out, the entire town was thrown into chaos. People screamed, others ran, and some just stood frozen in disbelief. It was hard to imagine that the man who had fed them, who smiled and called everyone my people, had been feeding them death all along. Mothers cried, remembering their missing children. Fathers clenched their fists in anger. The police were called, but before they could arrive, the crowd had already taken justice into their own hands. Obinna was dragged out of his mansion. His once neat shirt was torn, his face bleeding from a cut near his eye. He didn't fight back. He didn't beg. He only kept whispering, "I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to." But no one wanted to hear excuses. They wanted answers. They wanted to know why. They tied his hands and sat him down in front of his own shawarma stand. The same spot where he had once served them with laughter and fake humility. Now, it stood as the place where his sins were exposed. The crowd surrounded him, eyes burning with rage and disgust. "Tell us the truth," someone shouted. "Where are our children?" Another cried. Obinna looked around. He saw faces he once knew, customers who had praised him, friends who had trusted him. Now, they looked at him as if he was a demon. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then his voice came out, low and broken. "I didn't start like this," he said. "I was a good man once." The people murmured, but they allowed him to speak. Maybe they wanted to hear the full story before deciding what to do with him. He took a deep breath and began. "I lived in Lagos for years. I came there with big dreams, but Lagos swallowed me. I couldn't find a good job. I tried everything, driving keek, carrying goods, and washing cars. Still, I could barely eat. I slept under bridges and in uncompleted buildings. Life was too hard, and shame was my only friend." He paused, his eyes far away, as if seeing his past. The crowd listened in silence. "One night, I met an old man at Ojalegba. He called himself Baba Agba. He said he used to be a great chef who helped people make fortunes through food. He told me he could make me rich if I was ready to do what others feared. I laughed at him, but he gave me a small black bottle and told me it contained a secret recipe. He said if I used it well, people would never stop coming to buy from me. But there was a condition: once the liquid finished, I had to renew it by mixing it with fresh blood from someone in their early 20s. Gasps filled the air. Some people shouted in horror. But Obinna continued, his voice shaking. "At first, I didn't believe him. I took the bottle and threw it away. But days later, I found it in my bag again. I didn't even know how it got there. That night, I decided to try it. I grilled a little meat and added a drop of the liquid to my sauce. When I tasted it, I swear I felt fire in my tongue. The next day, I sold everything I cooked within minutes. People came begging for more. That was how it started." He swallowed hard. 3 months later, the sauce began to finish. Baba appeared again, this time in my dream. He told me the time had come to renew the taste. He said I must find a victim, take their blood, and mix it into the sauce. I tried to resist. I told him I couldn't kill anyone. But when I woke up, I found a dead body behind my house, a young man I didn't even know. Fear nearly killed me. I buried him in the bush. But when I tasted my new sauce after that, the flavor returned. I don't know how. I don't even know why. It was like something had taken over me. By now, even the bravest among the villagers had tears in their eyes. The story sounded too dark to be real, yet they knew it was. It explained everything: the missing youths, the strange smell, the nights he never slept. Obinna continued, his voice now barely a whisper. "When I came here, I thought maybe I could start over. I wanted to forget what happened in Lagos. But the bottle followed me. Every time the sauce finished, I would hear that same voice in my dream. It would say, 'Feed the flame.' And when I refused, the next morning, a dead body would appear near my compound. I swear I didn't want this life. But each time I used the blood, the money came faster, and people loved my food even more. I became addicted to it. It was like a curse. The people were quiet. Only the crackle of his burnt shawarma grill could be heard. Favour stood apart, crying softly. She had loved him. She had defended him. And now, she couldn't even look at him. An old man stepped forward, his walking stick shaking. "You should have confessed long ago, my son," he said, his voice trembling. "The blood of the innocent cries louder than any prayer." Obinna looked up, his eyes wet. "I wanted to stop, Baba. But the taste, the money, the life. It was too sweet to let go. I told myself I would quit after one last time, but that last time never came. I was always hungry for more." The crowd began to murmur again. Some said he should be handed over to the police. Others said he should face instant punishment. But before any decision could be made, Obinna suddenly broke down. He fell to his knees, screaming. His body shook violently, his eyes rolled back, and foam began to form at the corners of his mouth. People stepped back in fear. He screamed again, his voice strange, no longer human. "He's coming. Baba Agba is coming for me," he shouted, clutching his head. He said I belong to him now. The villagers looked around, frightened. The air grew cold. Even the night breeze stopped blowing. A shadow seemed to pass through the crowd, and the smell of burnt shawarma filled the air again, that same sweet, deadly aroma. Obinna's body went still for a few seconds, then he jerked up and started running. The men tried to stop him, but he pushed through them with unnatural strength. He ran down the street barefoot, screaming and laughing at the same time. People chased after him, shouting, but he didn't stop. He kept running toward the main road like a man possessed. Then, in a flash of headlights and the loud screech of tires, a vehicle hit him with full force. His body flew and landed on the ground, lifeless, for a long moment. There was silence. Only the hiss of the car engine and the faint smell of grilled meat filled the air. The driver stepped out, trembling, realizing what had happened. The villagers gathered around the body, some crying, others crossing themselves. His blood spread on the tarred road, thick and dark, and as strange as it sounded, the air smelled like shawarma. The police finally arrived. They covered his body and went to his mansion to investigate. Inside, they found a hidden room underground. There were knives, blood-stained aprons, and several bottles filled with the same red liquid. In one corner, they found a list of names, dates and ages written beside each one. Most of the names were those of the missing youths. By morning, news had spread beyond the town. Radio stations and social media were flooded with the story of the mysterious shawarma seller. People came from nearby communities to see the mansion, to stand where evil had lived among them in plain sight. The town elders ordered that the mansion be sealed and later destroyed. But on the night before the demolition, something strange happened. The house caught fire on its own. No one knew how it started. Some said it was the wind. Others said the spirits of the victims had returned for justice. By dawn, everything was gone, burnt to ashes. Not even the foundation remained. Life slowly returned to normal, but the town was never the same again. No one wanted to sell shawarma anymore. Even suya sellers lost customers for a while. People couldn't eat grilled meat without remembering Obinna's face and the horror that came with it. Favour moved away after some months. She couldn't bear the memories. They said she now lives in another town, quiet and withdrawn. Some nights, people claimed they saw her by the riverside, staring into space, whispering to herself. Others said she still hears Obinna's voice calling her name. The townspeople built a small memorial for the missing youths near the market square. Every year, on the anniversary of Obinna's death, they light candles there and pray. The elders always end the gathering with the same warning: not all success is clean. Some wealth smells sweet but bleeds inside. As time passed, the story became a legend told to children whenever they complained about wanting quick money. Parents would say, "Remember Obinna, the shawarma seller who fed his own people with blood." The lesson was clear: the hunger for fast wealth leads only to destruction, and even now, when the wind blows from the burnt side of town, some swear they can still smell it, that sweet, smoky scent of grilled meat mixed with something else. Something dark, the kind of smell that makes you hungry, but also makes your spirit tremble, because greed always leaves a taste that never fades. Moral lessons: greed destroys faster than poverty, true success takes time, and shortcuts only lead to pain. Not everyone who smiles at you has good intentions. Evil often wears a friendly face. When something feels wrong, never ignore your instincts, because that quiet voice could save your life. Wealth gained through dark means never lasts. Evil promises may bring riches, but they always end in ruin. And above all, contentment brings peace. The hunger for quick success can cost you your soul. Thank you for listening to this story, my dear friends. Remember, in this life, not everything that shines is gold. Be content, be patient, and never let greed blind your heart. Until we meet again, stay safe, stay wise, and keep learning from tales from Motherland. If this story touched your heart, do not forget to subscribe, like, and share. Your support keeps us going. Until I come your way again, stay out of trouble. Bye for now.